Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, for this episode, what I want to do is get into one of our scripts. This is usually my favorite part of the whole thing, just because I'm a programmer, and this is the part that I kind of know the best. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what do we need scripts for? It looks like we have a perfectly good torch here. It seems to work okay. What's the deal with the scripts? Well, scripts are a way of providing extra functionality that might be useful. Also, it's going to help boost our performance. Because we don't want to have all these torches on all at the same time. There's going to be, like I said, a couple hundred, maybe more torches in this level. And if they're all on, you're going to be watching a slideshow. So we want to make sure that we get some good performance out of this. Also, one of our scripts is going to deal with the shadow issue that's going to drive me crazy until we fix it. Okay, so in this episode, we're going to do just one of the three scripts that we're interested in, which is going to be our toggle. Right now, if I pull out a torch, where did I put these guys? Gosh, where did I put these guys? Oh, I haven't prefabbed him yet. That's right. Okay, we will prefab these eventually, but if I were to duplicate this guy, okay, obviously he comes out the same way. Which is fine, but it would be nice if we could turn some of our torches off so that they're decorative, so that all it's showing is the mesh itself. Now I could put in that torch, like let's go ahead and duplicate that. We could do it this way, right? Okay. If I turn him back to 0 and then I put him back in the wall. Okay, over here somewhere, right? He's more or less centered, not bad. I could go in, right, and manually turn off the things that I don't want, like the light source and the fire and the smoke and the sparks and this thing, and then turn off the audio. Let's see, where's the audio? And there you go. And okay, yeah, that's what we would ultimately want, right? Now, sure, that works, but we can make that easier on ourselves. And also allow us, if we want to go the other way, it's much bigger of a problem. It's actually easier to copy a lit torch than it is to put those components back in, right? But we can make this whole process a lot easier on ourselves by using a script. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so first off, we don't have a scripts folder, so let's go ahead in assets and create a folder called use the underscore scripts. Okay. We want this script to work in the editor, guys, so that we can see what we're doing as we're editing the folder. So we're going to add, under the scripts folder, we're going to add another folder, and this is going to have a special name. It's going to be called editor. This special folder name tells Unity that this script is meant to be run in the editor only. Okay, it is not an object script, it is an editor script. Okay. All right. So for this to work, what we really need here are two scripts, basically. So if I go into editor right now, and I'm going to create a C# script, and let's call this torch toggle editor. Okay, so you can see it's got our usual setup here. With all the normal stuff, but it's in a folder called editor. If I try to take this script and I drop it onto my torch, Unity is going to complain. The script is an editor script. You cannot put editor scripts on objects. Okay, it just doesn't work. Even though this is exactly the same script as when I do this. And if I come up to here and create another script, and we call this torch toggle, if I throw that onto the torch, why is it not coming? Come on. No problem, it just went on. So if you look down here, Unity dropped this into my torch as an element. Okay, this is not an object. It's an element, or a component, I guess you would call. So yeah, I mean, these are exactly the same. Right now, they're exactly the same script, but because this is in the editor folder, Unity is not going to allow us to drop it onto the torch. So that's why we need two different scripts basically here, because we need one to drop onto the torch itself. Okay, this is how Unity is going to know that whenever we select a torch, we want to run this particular script. Okay, that'll make sense in a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do is double click on torch toggle, and we'll open up Visual Studio. Okay, and there's our class. And then I'm going to go into the editor, and I'm going to open up torch toggle editor as well. Okay. All right. Let's see. How do we want to start this? First of all, guys, these scripts don't know anything about each other, right? This is a they're two entirely separate scripts. They have nothing to do with each other as far as they're concerned. So we got to fix that. The first thing I'm going to do is, well, okay, first of all, torch toggle editor is not a mono behavior. Mono behaviors, guys, like this one, the mono behavior element is what allows you basically to pick this up in the engine and drop it onto an object. Now, we've already said we can't do that with this object, so there's no reason for this to be here. I'm going to change this to editor. And editor, thank you. Okay, I'm going to get an error. Why? Because I'm not using Unity editor. Okay, so what have I just done there? I've told Unity that this script is an editor script. Now, it kind of knew that already because it's in an editor folder. So it's maybe a little bit redundant, but now the script knows it's an editor script, okay? This is a class that we're going to be overriding a couple of functions in. We do not need start and update for this function. For that matter, torch toggle, we don't need these functions either, so let's get rid of them. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned before we need to link these scripts somehow. So how are we going to do that? There's a command, a Unity command that we will put in. We're going to say custom editor, that's the one. And then type of torch toggle. Now I think, yeah, Visual Studio is going to complain about that because it doesn't know what torch toggle is. So what we need to do is go into project, add a reference, under solution, projects, and disassemble C# Visual Studio. We'll turn that on and hit OK, and that should, there you go, that should take care of that. Okay, so now Visual Studio knows that torch toggle is this class. Okay. Okay. If we drop back into, okay, we're getting an error. Why are we getting an error? Because I forgot something. Ah, sorry. This is not the right spot. We want this outside the class. Okay, so what we've got here, guys, is this class right now knows about torch toggle. Torch toggle doesn't know anything about editor class, but that's okay. We don't really care. It doesn't need to. Okay, so if we go back into Unity, we should get, for example, actually, let me clear that console off. There we go. Okay. So this next bit is a little bit tricky to explain, but let me give it a shot. I want a serialized property. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a component or a property that shows up on this torch script that we've added. Okay, and in order for this property to be properly serialized, which is to say it respects the undo and redo commands, it updates when it's supposed to, you know, there's no problems if I scroll, it'll update as like it's supposed to. You have to make it a serialized property. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to say serialized property, and we'll call this torch active property. Okay. I'm also going to, and here, let's make that public. I'm also going to grab a reference to the script itself, okay, just so I don't have to keep looking for it. I can put it in once and then leave it alone. So torch toggle, the torch. Okay. And you remember, we can do this because we told the script about torch toggle up here. Okay. Actually, that's, well, yeah, all right, I'll leave it at that. That's not really what that's for, guys. This is so the editor knows about torch. It's, never mind. It just I don't want to try to get into it too much. This basically is coming from here, not really from here. Okay. Okay. We are going to use two functions for this editor script, and they're two. They're two what you call magic functions, or magic. Yeah, they're magic functions. They're functions that the Unity editor looks for, okay, when it's running. So the first one is going to be on enable, and these fire at specific times. Okay. The other one's going to be public void on inspector. Why am I not getting my GUI? My IntelliSense stopped working. Okay. So what do those do? Why don't I show you guys? So I'm going to put in here debug log quote on enable fired. That's not how you spell fired. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go on inspector GUI fired. And somehow we ended up with quotes out here. Okay, save that. So let me show you how this works. Okay, on enable fires whenever you basically whenever the item is selected. On inspector fires whenever the GUI for this element is updated. So let's take a look and see what that looks like in Unity. Okay, let's pull up the console. It's it's already fired. I'll clear this off. Let me see if I can put this somewhere where we can see what we're looking at here, guys. Okay, so if you watch the console, if I like select the wall, and then I come back here and select the torch, nothing happened. Oh, because I selected the glow. Select the torch, please. There you go. So it just fired the on enable function. Okay. Whenever I select it, and again, it's not selecting. So whenever I select the torch, the on enable will fire. Okay. On GUI is not firing. Oh. Right. Why is that? Because I misspelled it. On inspector GUI. Why didn't you give me an error? Yeah, darn thing. Okay. Let's bring up that console window again. Clear it. Okay, let's try that again. On enabled. No, it's still not firing. Oh, right. Right. Okay. Sorry. That's why it didn't give me an error, because I forgot a keyword, guys. So the editor class, I will pull this up because it's kind of complicated, but in order for the onInspector GUI to work, we need to override a virtual function. So override void inspector GUI. In fact, let me start that over, because public override void onInspector GUI. That's what we want. There you go. And that brings up our base call too as well automatically. Let's go ahead and log that function there. That's what we want. Okay, let's look at the console window. Did I save that? I did. Okay, window, console window. And you can see it's already firing off a zillion times. So, okay. You can see every time this console window is updated, this thing fires, but only if you've got the torch selected or deselecting the torch. So you can see it just fired a bunch of times. Why? Because for each component in this torch that shows up, it's going to fire one time. Now if you watch the bar right here, guys, even if I scroll this right here, you can see there's more stuff getting added. So any change to this at all will cause that to be updated. So let's see if I can get it to... So you can see onEnabled still being fired. Even if I, let's see, change even so much as a number in here, it'll fire it a bunch of times. And although you can't really tell because it's just it's adding to all these things. So, but it is in fact firing. I wonder if I can do it this way. So let's clear it. See if we can get it to fire. Yeah, you see that? Even if I change a number, it fires a bunch of times. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea. So whenever, even if I deselect, it'll actually fire it a couple times. Whenever I select the torch, the onEnable gets fired, and then the onInspector will get fired anytime anything changes, or this is scrolled, or anything in here changes. Okay, those are the times when that function gets fired. Okay. All right. So we know these are working. They're firing when they're supposed to. So we want to do a couple of things here. First off, we got a couple of properties we need to fill in. So let me back up here for a second, guys, because I just want to make sure that you guys understand this. The reason these guys are firing, just to make this kind of clear, make sure this is entirely clear. We've got the torch toggle script here. The torch toggle script is this one. Okay. This is being fed over to here, this custom editor type of torch toggle. Okay. This line tells this script that it should fire anytime that anything with this script attached to it is on. So that's why onEnable and onInspector GUI know to fire, because this script is on that torch. Okay. It doesn't fire if that script, if we select something that doesn't have that script on it. Okay, we could just as easily, I mean, there's no real special connection here. We could just as easily have stuck this script on this wall, right? So whatever wall this is, why didn't it go on? I just got finished saying. Because it's going on the wrong damn thing. Alright. Remove that. I don't want it. Here, let's do it this way. If we put it on this mesh right here, okay. Just drop it over here. So, and then I pull up the component console window, and let's clear that off. And I select it. You can see it's just as happy to fire off that script, and that's simply because this torch toggle script is on that wall. Okay, so let's delete that component off of there. All right, I hope that's clear, because that's probably the most confusing part. We've connected these two scripts together, and that's basically the idea, and it's through this line right here that causes this script to fire when this script is on an object. Okay. So on the onEnable, we want to set these couple of functions. So first off, torch active property. We want you to be equal to. Now remember, this is a serialized property. So we're going to say serialized object, not property, object dot find property, and then torch active. Okay. So what that's going to do is it's going to find a property called torch active. So let's go ahead and put that in. What we're looking for is a property. So let's make a property. Public a Boolean torch active. And we'll set that just for convenience sake, we'll set that to true. Okay. So this serialized property right here is going to look for the torch active property in torch toggle. Okay, because it's through this call, so it's going to look for this torch active property. Okay. Right now, that's not going to do anything, but except for to set this, and that setting this doesn't have any effect on anything right yet. Then we're gonna store a reference. So we're going to store the torch equals torch toggle target. Okay, target is a function of object editor, or sorry, that is a function of object of editor. This class right here that we overrode. It's the object that is being inspected, which is to say, whatever shows up in the inspector window. Okay. So we've taken this object, we've cast it into a torch toggle object, and we've stored it in the torch. It's just a reference. Okay, we'll use that later on. So now, whenever we select a torch, we get the torch active property stored, and we also get the reference to the torch itself, the entire object stored. Okay. All right. Let's take a look back in. You get out of here. Back in Unity. And if we look at the torch and add a script, you can see the torch active property just showed up. It's a Boolean. We can toggle it on and off, but it doesn't do anything. This is coming from right here. Anything you make public in a class that you then attach to an object shows up in the engine, right? As in this case, it's Boolean, so we get a checkbox. It doesn't do anything yet, but there it is. Okay. All right. So believe it or not, guys, we're quite a bit of ways there. Nothing seems to do anything yet, but we're actually getting quite close. Now, when the inspector changes, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that serialized object is updated. This is really just kind of a housekeeping function. It just ensures that any serialized object we have on the screen actually updates with a redo or an undo. There are certain ways that they could become desynced with reality. This just ensures that it always stays synced. Okay. Okay. I'm going to set up how am I going to explain this? I'm going to set up a custom button on that GUI, and I'm going to say torch active prop dot bool value. Okay, that's this guy. We're going to set him equal to editor GUI layout. So we're going to access the editor's layout, the window that we've created for that script. And we're going to give it a toggle, which we're going to call torch on, comma, and we're going to set this equal to the same thing, torch active prop bool value. Now that may seem like a weird command, but let me explain what this is doing. We've just created a toggle on the window. It's going to be called torch on, and it's going to be set to whatever this value is. Okay. When we change this value, one of the things that could change is this value, right? This Boolean value. If this changes, it'll change this one. It's a little bit. It's easier to see than it is to explain, guys. Let me show you what's going to happen here. Did I save that? I didn't save it. No, it's like, why did that come up? Okay, there it goes. Okay, so you see this just came up, this torch on, and that comes from, again, this line right here. We just told it, the editor GUI, to add a toggle called torch on, and we're going to set it equal to this value, which it should be. You can see they're the same. I can turn this off, and it turns off and on. Okay, I can't directly affect this one yet. I'm not sure. Okay, well, we'll deal with that later. The point being, it basically mimics this. Now, why is that useful? Well, in this case, maybe it's not so useful. It's, I mean, we could just as easily click this one, and why have two buttons that are doing the same thing? But if you have a bunch of properties in here, like a whole mess of stuff, it's useful to have like a read thing up at the top. Okay, and that's what this is doing. You might have 4 or 5 of these kind of little GUI things that are up at the top that tell you, give you a kind of status of this thing. Right now we know it's on, okay? And then down below it, your controls. So that's how that's going to work, okay? All right, now I'm going to do another housekeeping thing. Serialized object.apply modified properties. Again, you could get out of date. There's, you know, that just makes sure everything stays all synced up. All right, here's the interesting bit. I'm going to do an if-then statement. I'll talk about this in just a second. If torch active prop dot bool value equals true, we want to call a function, and what we're going to call is the torch dot light torch. This function doesn't exist yet, else we don't need the brackets. The torch dot extinguish torch. Okay. Before I get yelled at, guys, I did try to do this at one point. Torch active prop dot bool value equals true, question mark. This deal, and then this deal, extinguish. Just to be a little bit, so the idea was that if this is true, you call this one. If it's false, you call this one. I'm sure that anyone who knows programming knows that function, but for some reason Unity doesn't like that. If I try to do that, it gives me all kinds of errors. So I just did a simple if-then statement. Okay. So we've got a couple of functions here. They don't yet exist. So let's go ahead and put them in. So right now they're calling the torch light torch. So the torch is the torch toggle, right? So let's put those functions in. So void public void light torch. And we'll deal with their public void extinguish torch. We'll deal with the innards in just a second. For right now, let's just do debug just to show that they're firing. Log quote light torch. And then we'll do extinguish torch. All right. So let's see if that works. So the idea is if the torch active property, which we set up here, right, this Boolean value, and lost my space, is true, we're going to fire this function that's back over in torch toggle right here, and we should get this message. If we can get that to work, then we could start filling in those functions. So let's go ahead and bring up our console window again, and let's clear it out and run. Well, that's quite loud. Sorry, guys. I'm going to turn down my my sound here a little bit. Okay. If you look at the console window, you can see the torch is lighting every single time on-inspected GUI is fired, which is what you would expect, right? From the script, because we're not really distinguishing between anything. We're just firing these functions whenever the GUI changes. We might be able to make this a little more efficient by doing a check and making sure it's actually the torch that's changing, but there's not really any need. It's just changing one torch, so who cares? If we were changing 200 torches, we would definitely care about efficiency in here, but we're not, so there's no real need to optimize this to any extent. So let's head back over here for a second. Okay, sorry about the screen. The screen turns with the mouse. I can't help that. So if we turn this off right now and you watch the component window, we just extinguish the torch. You can see it extinguished, and then we just let it back up again. So it's working the way we want it to work. There it goes. We can actually turn off and on the main controller too. In fact, we don't even need to be running. Now, come to think of it, we don't even need to be running for this to work. Okay. You can see it's working just fine in the editor, which is what we want. Okay. So there you go, guys. We've finished 90% of the battle. The system now knows to run these functions whenever we click on and off that particular that checkbox. Okay. So all we got to do really is fill in these guys, and this is fairly simple. Let's just do it a couple things at a time. First off, the audio. We want to turn off the audio, right? If the torch is on or off, that would definitely affect that audio. So to do that, we're going to say get component, and this is going to be an audio source. Audio source. There we go. And then we're going to say the audio source dot enabled equals, this is light, so true. True. And I'm going to copy that same function down here and just turn it off. False. Okay, so that'll take care of, if you look at the torch, it's got the audio source. Okay. Basically what that does is clicks that box. Okay, it turns off the audio. Just basically blanket turns off all this stuff. Okay. Let's do a couple more. Now that was kind of the easy one because that is a component of the parent. The rest of this stuff is all children of the parent, children objects of the parent. This is a component of the parent. These are children of the parents. So in order to get these guys, what you have to do is you have to say the transform node dot find. In fact, I'm not sure actually if we even need the transform. Find. No, I guess we do. Transform dot find. There we go. That's what I want. And I'm going to go fire left. So we're going to do an again, find, and especially on a string function, not a good function to use. But again, this is in the editor, guys, and so we're not really that worried about efficiency here. If we were in the game and this was a critical function, we definitely would not use this. Okay, this not a good idea to use find, especially a string find. Game object. Oops. Game up. There we go. It's like, why is that not coming up? Okay, so then set active true. Okay, so that'll turn off fire left, and that'll turn off fire right. Okay, I'm going to take these same two functions, I'm going to copy them down here, and I'm just going to set them to false. Okay, before we get any further, let's just save and try that and see what it looks like. So I'm going to grab the torch, and it's already off because I turned it off before. But there you go. So you can see that the fire goes out. Now you can't hear the audio, so if I run this, okay, there we can hear the audio. Now let's turn it back off again. And there, now the audio is off. Can I do this at runtime? Yeah, I can do this at runtime. Okay. And there you go. Alright, so we're practically there. We just need to turn off the glow, the smoke, and the sparks, and we're done. So let's turn that back on. So this is the same procedure, guys. So I'm just going to do, there's three things left, the glow, the smoke, and the sparks. So I'm just going to do this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to change this one to, whoops. I'm going to change this to glow. I'm going to change this to smoke. And I'm going to change this to sparks. Okay, same deal. I'm going to just copy the same functions down, and I'm just going to turn them off. Paste, paste, paste. And there you go. Save that. And there you go. Let's go ahead and let's let it reset and run. So as you can see, smoke, sparks, glow, fire, sound, turn them off. It's off. Oh, we forgot the light source. Missed one. One more. I gotta turn off the light. That's important. And I think I called it light source. Is that right? Light source, yes. There it is, right there. Okay, copy that down, turn it off, save that, come back over to Unity, let's let it reset itself, it takes a second. Okay, let's see if that works. Yeah, let me grab the torch. Okay, it's all on, smoke, light, fire, etc. Turn it off, and there you go. Now we've got a dead torch. Very nice. Okay, and you can actually see it in action. Very nice. Okay, and we can show that this is working on an individual basis. We can duplicate this object. Let's bring him out here, and let's spin him around to 0 degrees. And then I'll drop him back against this wall, pull him over here. Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't have to get too crazy about it. I'm a perfectionist. So there you go. We got 2 different torches. So if I select this torch, I can turn him off, and the other torch doesn't affect the other torch. Okay. That's basically what we're trying to look at here. So that one's off, that one's on. And there you go. And because I have him up, I can actually turn him on in real time. But I mean, you know, there you go, guys. There's a useful method for having the torches turn on or off. You know, however we want to do it. So there you go. Let me go ahead and save this. Save scene. Yeah. There you go, guys. I think that's it. I mean, that's kind of an easy little script. The only tricky bit about it is the editor script, and so you had to do 2 scripts and you had to link them together, and then you use a couple of magic functions. But other than that, really, kind of a simple little script, but really quite useful. I mean, we've got this nice little toggle that we have to turn torches on or off. So yeah, very nice. Okay, guys, so that's it for this one. I'll in the next one, we'll do one of the other 2 scripts we've got. We've got one for the shadows, and we've got one for the optimizing the lights. I'm not quite sure which one we're going to do yet. Probably the shadows, I'm inclined to say, since one, that's bugging me, and 2, it's an easier script than the other one. So yeah, we'll pick it up there when we get there. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot.